in 2030 the topic SDV should be boring.
AutoSite is still a good standard, but the standard have to change.
Designing a great functionality hasn't gone away.
We will see the real life SDV.
Warm welcome to our session today. In the automotive market, we see a lot of uncertainty today. There is transformation ongoing, and for us the question is, what are the challenges right now? What are the pain points? How can we make it better? How can we solve it? We have two colleagues here, Jochen Rhein, leading the Department Embedded Software and Systems here at Vector. Warm welcome, Jochen. And also Markus Eggenberger, leading the Department Software Factory here at Vector. Markus, also happy to have you. Let's dive right into the situation. A lot of uncertainty, transformation ongoing. What's your view on the market right now in the automotive area?
Yeah, I think we really see a lot of uncertainty and a lot of new topics. What's now challenging for the car manufacturers. You see on the one side the EV topic, so the BEV topic, the battery systems. On the other side we have the software-defined topics. We have an ADAS topic. And then we have the economic situation, what we also see here. And so it's a challenging time, I would say, for the car manufacturers, and also that means it's a challenging time for our customers right now, what we see.
And also everybody wants just more speed. Time to market is increasingly becoming a pressure topic, and everybody wants to accelerate their processes, but they struggle to find a proper way to do so.
Okay.
Completely right.
Maybe then the question is right away, what is the fundamental difference right now in the current vehicle development to the one where you describe, okay, it's all about time to market?
Yeah, I think let's look on it on our view, from a software view. We are a software company, so for us it's of course a software-defined vehicle, it's a shift north, what we say. That means that you want to be much more able to provide new features, to introduce new features without doing a complete design of a new car. Here we think that's really a challenging topic for the car manufacturers to have really this decoupling from hardware to the software. That's here a topic what we see in the market, and of course how to build the software, because the ecosystem and the software will be more and more complex.
In the past you could simply just order a certain ECU for a dedicated purpose. You could just say, I need something to control my windscreen wipers. Now you don't know where the functionality eventually ends up, so it is totally different. You can no longer say just, I'm doing the architecture completely upfront and then it's settled and I just order my parts. Now you have to adapt in your development process when you change location of functionality.
We have the possibility here, together with this software platform, which is provided or defined by the dedicated OEM, so you can provide much more features together with this software platform. That's really new possibilities what we see here.
Yes, definitely. And by having this ability to move functionality around, it gives you much more opportunity to optimize your entire vehicle and the entire system to the perfect goal. And I think this is a big difference to the past, where you would have to stick with what's given simply.
Yeah. And you have not to start always from a beginning.
Yes.
If you have a new ECU, you can really keep your software platform and just adapt to the new hardware system what you have here provided together with. And so this provides you a new way of working.
Let's go a little in the let's say in the problem space, in the challenges, the status quo. What are the key challenges, pain points you are seeing currently in implementing?
Yeah, if you look today, we have today a combination of hardware and software. So it's on the one side, we said, okay, you would have much more possibilities to have such decoupling. You have to do it, and you have to think about what is really the hardware-related topic. That means real-time, safety, security topics, which I have to keep together with my hardware, and what are the functionalities behind. Each tier one has to look into the ECU and think about, okay, how to split my software to provide the possibility to get access to the dedicated functions here. And so it's not just that I can say, okay, I start now to develop a software platform. It's really a change also in the design of the dedicated ECUs, and also a change in the design of the complete platform of a vehicle.
And I also think with this dynamic part of the process, the change rate is becoming much more accelerated. So the turnaround times when you make a change, and to make this happen, you cannot have the ability, or you cannot have closed ecosystem. You have the ability to get an insight into the source code. You can no longer deliver a black box. You want to see downstream what happens once you have integrated this functionality. You want to make those fixes as well. You don't want to simply upstream, hey, there was a problem with this functionality. So this closer collaboration between OEMs and tier ones, but also within tier ones, different departments, testing department, development departments, is a big topic there to make this possible.
And even the organization. At the car manufacturer, it's often driven by the dedicated ECUs, by the dedicated modules. Now the functionality, it's really splitted. One in the software platform, the other one with the hardware. And so we have, or the OEMs has really to think about even the organization, what is the best organization to push this shift north approach?
You described on the one hand the design aspect, you described overall a workflow aspect from what and the organization. What do you think is the bigger hurdle right now? Is it more like technology or potentially missing technology, or is it the organizational transformation?
I would simply say yes, because honestly, it's all of the above. I mean, it goes hand in hand. When we talk to our customers from a technology point of view with the software factory, where we say this is an enabler to speed up your development, and that we say you can now test really on the final target device. You can do hill tests as a developer, or that you can make changes downstream and so on, and bringing the world together. Those people, the developers, the testers, they love this, but they say, okay, but in the end, our organization is not set up for this. We have these guys here, they have their dedicated process. They are responsible for just implementing and then handing over these parts. They say, we are still limited by that. On the other hand, when I talk to our colleagues from Vector Consulting, when they say they're talking to the organizational part and they say, hey, you have to adjust your organization to increase the speed. But they say, on the other hand, how do I make this possible? What's the tooling for that? So it really, everything fits together. You cannot just solve one piece or solve them one after the other. And I think this is also where a big of the part of the uncertainty comes from right now.
And I think it's even from the technical point of view, we see a lot of discussions regarding zonal architecture, domain architecture, centralized architecture. Okay, from a software point of view, I don't think it's really a big difference, so we don't care. But we have a lot of discussions about, and even this mindset, I think it's the first topic. We say, okay, software-defined vehicle. We also said often hardware-defined vehicle. This transformation from a hardware-defined vehicle into a software-defined vehicle, what does it really mean? And so I think we have often a mindset, we coming from a hardware, and now we have to shift to look on this from a software point of view, because from a software point of view, it's not so important which architecture from the hardware. I should have a software architecture which I can deploy later on to the dedicated hardware. But we still think often from a hardware point of view, and I think this is also a topic. And it's not really an organization topic. It's perhaps a technical, it's a mindset issue. So you see, even together or additional to this, what we discussed, we have also mindset topics.
Yeah, definitely.
So the mindset topics are then, is it more lack of understanding or more lack of execution capabilities to get to that mindset?
I think it's...
Yes, Marcus would say.
Yeah, I mean, yes, would be a good answer. No, but I would say no. to have the different. No, but I think it's the expertise and all the thing is available. I think it's a change of thinking, and it's not a lack of understanding or something else. It's really, if you are used to go in the same direction every day to the office, you're driving every day this direction, it's hard to drive in another direction. So, and it's not a problem of expertise, because if you are able to drive your car, you can drive in each direction. But you are used to go in this direction, and this is always what happened if you have to decide some things, and you have to press a reset button, perhaps, and then to rethink. But I think it's not a lack of expertise.
I think in the end, the expertise of our colleagues in the industries is still valued in the end. I mean, designing a great functionality hasn't gone away. It's still a big value, but like you say, it's patterns and we are just humans and you stick to these patterns and they can still leverage the expertise that they have, but they have to break with the patterns. And yeah, I agree with that, definitely.
Maybe moving from the pain points to more like technology, standards, the development itself, and you mentioned breaking the patterns. Looking into the future, who will develop the applications for the vehicle? Is there a break of pattern? Is it the OEMs? Is it third parties, independent developers? Or is it more standard as it is right now, the tier one?
To be honest, I do not really know. But I think we have a lot of expertise on a tier one level. So they know really a lot of how to deal with the dedicated topics, and they delivered in the past the ECUs with all this functionality. I think it would be a less of or lose of expertise if this IP and this software would not be used from an OEM, which is provided by a tier one. So I think for tier ones, they should really look into other business models. On the one side, they provide the hardware together with very real-time topics, but additionally, they can also provide software, and so the OEM, from my point of view, has to have the possibility and the expertise on the one side, perhaps to develop own functions, to be able to integrate functions, and even to be able to integrate complete ecosystems. But around this system, you have much more, but you have new players in the game. And this is what we see. If we look to our IVI system, if we look to another system, perhaps you have to be able to integrate a complete ecosystem. So that means, and one of the big topics for an OEM, it's really to have the expertise how to integrate function and how to integrate ecosystems, how to bring this together. That's, I think, it's one of the topics.
Yeah, and I think it's perhaps not too much the question whether the OEMs will develop the software functionality, the tier ones, etc. But I think in general what will change is that the software developers or the function developers and application developers, that will go much more power to them, because they will be able to develop a function which will be ready to be deployed into a vehicle, into an ECU. So you asked initially what has changed. In the traditional development, you had an application developer. He was developing a model, for example, and then he was passing that on to be integrated into the ECU. And they had completely different worlds and understanding of what is happening. And I think what happens now with this transformation and how we develop and integrate everything, this is becoming more and more an automated part. And with that, you have more and more power shifted to those developers, because they can design something that will be automatically integrated. They can immediately see the impact in the integrated system, in the ECU, in a car. And I think this is a big of the fundamental change.
So this is a DevOps approach here,
yes,
what
definitely.
You see? And this is really what we have as a possibility for change, because right now we have, or we had in the past, the topic, you had to write a specification to the tier one implemented something. That means if you have an idea and you think about the idea and then you get back the implementation of the idea, it's a long time. Perhaps you even forgot what you had as an idea. And this is really a topic for the developer. You want to have the idea and immediately see how it works. And together with such an approach, with the DevOps approach you mentioned here, it's really possible to get such a feeling, to implement something and then to get really to directly get back the feeling of your idea.
It doesn't matter who it does. It's just important that everybody can do it as simple as possible, as automated as possible. Yeah. That also means, of course, we will come to the workflows later, maybe sticking to the platform. Is it like an Android? Is it like an iOS? In the end, there's also AutoSAR in there at the moment. So how do you see it? Will the platform itself, is it comparable? Does AutoSAR become simpler, more valuable? So that's a big topic in itself. How do you see that?
So AutoSAR, it's really, or it's perfect to have a very detailed description and to define whatever you need and this is a way of AUTOSAR. I think due to the speed what we want to bring in, it's really AUTOSAR struggles with. Therefore, I think AUTOSAR is still a good standard which provides a lot of, even the wording of AUTOSAR, it's helpful. But on the other side, of course, if you look today, we have much more, we mentioned the DevOps approach. And the DevOps approach means you want to change something and you want directly to see. And if we, in between, we have tools where you have to configure something and so such things, then you have to test. And so that's really a topic which makes it too complex. So I think AUTOSAR is still a good standard, but the standard have to change to really fulfill the new way of working. And I think that's a topic. And you spoke about a platform, and you also mentioned platform, what we see for mobile phones, for example. In a car, it's even more complex because we see different platforms. On the one side, we said, okay, a complete ecosystem, you want to integrate a platform like a mobile operating system, let's say, but you have also the vehicle system platform. And this is, of course, a much more complex platform because you have a lot of different hardware and you have even safety topics because this hardware, it's driving with 200 kilometers.
Yeah, and like you earlier mentioned with the shift north, it doesn't even end in the car. It goes on to the cloud. You have the telemetry, you have the direct connection to the cloud. There's an entirely different platform in the cloud and a different system that you have to connect, different architecture, different technologies, different capabilities. Eventually, you have to bring everything together.
You have to bring it together. And therefore, it's a topic even here. Do you have one huge platform or you have a platform in a cloud? And then you have interfaces to the vehicle. And so you have to think about the complete system, but you can still have dedicated platforms. And the one, it's really the onboard platform, the other, it's a cloud platform, the other one, it's the IVI platform. And to bring this together and to have the interfaces, I think this is one of the challenging topics.
So I think even the term vehicle system platform would be something where we can probably do a whole video about it. What I got earlier is the organization and the technologies, it's a yes. We need both. So for me, the question would be the required technologies and also the standards. You elaborated a little bit, but the questions from the technologies moving to like the development process, to the speed aspect you mentioned earlier, why is it still so slow? Some of the aspect might be 200 kilometers of hardware, but is that everything? Why do we have only several months of releases every now and then? That's quite different to the vision I hear with mobile phones every day, overnight.
I think it's difficult to answer. I mean, not every functionality you want to update in that frequency, and some functionality requires more time to develop and needs to be more thoroughly tested, especially when it's a safety critical functionality. But I think it also comes back to my yes earlier, because we have big organizations, we have big and complex structures and relations between OEMs and tier ones, and it all has to adapt and they have to work with each other. So we had one story that I liked a lot, because eventually it was a co-creation that helped us improve our products or a new generation of our software testing tools. And it was at an OEM who set it up as a testing platform where the tier ones could easily deliver virtual ECUs to be tested in an automated fashion. I think this is a very, very big step forward, because it brings the worlds between the tier one and the OEM together. You asked, why does it take long? What did it take to get there? It did take the co-creation with us to adapt our products to go into a more text-based definition in the everything is code paradigm. It needed the spirit and the mindset of the OEM to say, okay, we understand that we need to adapt our workflows and our working methodologies in the same way. They can't just say, bring me new tools. I don't want to change anything. And I really love this, because co-creation, not just product, but also adapting their workflows and getting the mindset along and spreading this over to the tier one. And I think this is a huge transformation that takes quite some effort and time. And I think we will increase the speed step by step.
I think we did big steps in this direction. But we have also to look to the automotive industry. You have regulations. That means you are even not allowed to provide your software to a vehicle, let's say, and even if you have just test drives, you have regulations behind. And therefore, we have also to consider such regulations, and perhaps we have also to distinguish a little bit what is a software functionality which is regulated, where you need more testing and other testing. You even need organizations to provide something here. And on the other side, really is a functionality. And I think if you have such a split, that you are a little bit more independent of the regulations, you can provide much more functions much quicker.
Maybe one question to the regulation: is it more like what is it, safety, security, or is it more like the laws? What is hurdling, or what do you mean by
now? I come back to your answer. Yes, all of all of this. You have on the one side, you have even laws, you have the regulations, you have safety topics where you need the certifications and all these things. So it's really OBD, for example. It's a standard, it's a law. What you have to consider, and here it's even not allowed to change anything. That means if you want now to provide new features, you want to provide new functionality, then you have to really have a split between this OBD functionality, which you are not allowed to change, and the functionality from your vehicle. On the one side, I would say, okay, it would be great to be much more faster to get rid of such topics. On the other side, due to the fact, I remember I said the car is driving with 200 kilometers. I'm a little bit happy that we have some regulations behind, because it's something different. I have a phone, and my phone, it's something went wrong, or a vehicle, something went wrong. But I think we have to have such a split to really provide much more features independent of such regulations.
Maybe coming a little back to the previous answer of Marcus, you said there's co-creation was there. We did a new development of software testing tools. The question was, why is it so slow? And I would like to go into the direction, how can we solve all of the challenges, all of the pain points we just mentioned until now? What are new approaches you are seeing?
Good. One topic you mentioned was the text-based. I think this is one of the base.
Yes.
But on the other side, of course, we see a lot of opportunities regarding AI. That this will push the complete workflow a lot, even from a design. You have a lot of design data, and first of all, AI can support you how to get a better picture of your data. On the other side, really to provide additional information for the design, coming to the configuration where you can just say, okay, I need something, and you will get it. You have not to think too much about the configuration, to the implementation, and of course also the testing. So this is one thing what we are working on, that we provide here on the one side MCP, and on the other side we provide agents, because we see here a huge field to improve the speed here in the development process.
There will be more power going to the developers, and that means that a lot of automation has to be behind it, and all the things and technologies that you mentioned, they contribute so much to this aspect, because everything as code is a big topic to make the automation possible. It allows you to describe an integration in a textual manner, make changes, merge it, collaborate even in huge organizations. AI can easily generate code-based topics. I mean, code is one of the key strengths of AI. You can leverage for these things. You can leverage the AI to generate the functionality that you envision, but it helps you throughout the entire process. It can help you make a good decision, to give you a recommendation for a tool, how to test X, Y, Z, or analyze a report, even with the reports for the regulations, to dive through all those details. It can help you. But you can also enable really high-level functionalities, like we said earlier, with where should the function end up? Do I need to reconfigure my stack? I don't want to do this. I just want to move my function. I want to tell the AI, move this function from this ECU up there to another one, and perhaps also with that, change the COM stack to Ethernet from COM. Why should I go through this? And yeah, these will be the driving factors to gain speed there.
Do I even need to consider the COM stack?
I don't want to, but yeah, I don't want to. It's a good question. From a function developer point of view, I would say no, I don't want to.
Exactly. So, but even the communication, it's the same. You need an information or you want to provide an information. You don't care, it's a topic for the communication layer. This has to be done automatically. But of course I need a dedicated information because I have an idea. And all the other things should be done automatically. You can say, okay, I need a signal. We said on the first time, okay, based on the text-based approach, the developer should be able to very easily text-based to say, okay, I need this signal. The next step would be, he do not need to do it text-based because the AI will do it text-based. And the other topic was, you have also to consider in the architecture, and even the AI can support you to look into the architecture. Perhaps the information is available somewhere. You do not need a new information and all these things. And therefore, you are right. I have not to think about the communication stack or something else. This should be done based on my needs. And my need is not to have a change in the communication stack. My need is to get a new information. That's
And sometimes you want to make a change in the development, and this might affect the requirement. And even making this connection, the AI can help. The developer might not want to take care immediately of this. He just says, if I move this there, what happens then? Oh, this is better. And the AI might suggest the necessary changes for the requirements. Obviously, to comply with the standards, somebody else needs to approve them and say, okay, these requirements changes are nice and valid, but it can bridge those worlds as well.
One last question for today, maybe coming back to the beginning, the current situation, a lot of uncertainty. What does your vision for the automotive market for software-defined vehicle look like in 2030?
In 2030, I think we will really see that the software platforms will be in place for the different car manufacturers. We will see here really much more the possibility of the DevOps journey. I'm not so sure we will see different, let's say, software platforms from the different vehicles. How many will be shared or not shared? We see some trends, they want to do an own solution, but we still think it would make sense to have a more harmonized solution. If we look to the mobile industry, it's also said we have not so many different solutions in place. But I think we will go in this direction, the industry will go in this direction, and I think 2030, it will be normal to develop your vehicle based on a software platform. You have much more decoupling of a hardware, and so we will see this vision gets more and more true.
Yeah, I would totally agree. In 2030, the topic SDV should be boring, and it should be commodity, and everybody knows how to just work with it. Like you said initially, with this uncertainty, and yes, there's a lot of change going on, but I think in the end, they have all the knowledge that they need to build a great car. When they go through this transformation and adapt this new way of developing and rolling out things, I think they have a bright future. And then this uncertainty will also settle and go into more maturity. And then we say, okay, SDV is somewhat normal now, and I just develop my function and deploy it.
Supported by AI, let's see how much we will see here, but we think this will really also push this topic. And so I completely agree that we will see the real life SDV.
So to summarize, in 2030, SDV might become really helpful through AI, through making the application developers more happy, by independence, by decoupling, through software factory, and by a platform ideally standardized. And we know a lot of the answers to the questions which might arise. And based on that, thank you, Jochen. Thank you, Markus, for the insight.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, we're here. We're happy to help. And feel free to get in touch with us.